Hi everyone, this is David, and today I want to talk about the three most common mistakes that writers make, and more importantly, how to overcome them in a simple, effective way. The first one goes by the fancy name of faulty template analysis. A template is simply the underlying blueprint of the thing that you're writing. Virtually everything that has been written, virtually everything that will be written, has a template, a set of common characteristics, whether it's a sympathy letter, a Shakespearean tragedy play, a Hallmark sympathy card, or a letter to your boss, or an assignment to a history teacher. It's very important for you to know, especially as a student and as a member of the workplace, that whenever your teacher asks you for a certain assignment, that teacher already has in mind the perfect paper, that template. And it's your job to understand what that template is. The same thing for your boss. If your boss says, hey, give me a report on what happened yesterday, you need to immediately find out what format is used for reports in that company and in that workplace. Have you ever had the experience of getting back something from a teacher or a boss, and the teacher saying, sorry, you didn't follow the assignment instructions, or the boss saying, this isn't what I wanted, try again? Often what they're saying is, you did not follow the template that they were expecting. Now, how can you overcome this? Well, whenever a teacher gives you an assignment, if there's not a rubric, or if the teacher doesn't supply you with a sample model paper from a previous student, ask for one. Whenever the boss assigns you a memo to write, or an evaluation to write, or a proposal to write, go and ask your colleagues for examples, successful examples, that they have done of that kind of memo or report or request. So what you're doing is getting firmly in your mind the blueprint, the structure of what it is that teacher or that boss or that whoever wants. Okay, the second problem is called head writing. Head writing is simply where you try to compose the sentence in your head or paragraph and edit it at the same time. In other words, you try to think of it, and then you try to get it right grammatically in terms of word choice, style, whatever, before you put it down. And the worst position a writer could ever find herself in or himself in is that one right there. That means your head writing. The first time that you write a draft, in other words, after you've done your pre-writing, your planning, your research, your whatever, and you're sitting down for the first time to put sentences on the page or on the screen, you should do that as quickly as possible. You want it to be literally a rough draft. Your goal in that first draft is literally to write as quickly as you can so that you can hear the thoughts, that voice in your head, and get them down as quickly as you can. You can worry about editing them later. But if you try to think the thoughts up for the first time and edit them at the same time, you get caught in what is called cross-lateral brain interference. And that's a very fancy name for writer's block. So the technique that you're going to read about here is how to speed write or free write in order to overcome that head writing tendency. Now, the last era is one that occurs in the final stage of writing before we turn something in after we have completed it, and that is not getting feedback. I always say this: you want your teacher or your boss never to be the second person who has read something you've written. You're the first person who reads what you write. And in between yourself and that teacher and that boss or that supervisor, you want to put somebody else, at least one somebody else. And that one somebody else needs to read it, because after you've written something and you've read it over many times, you can't look at it objectively anymore. It's literally memorized in your head. And you need to hear it, and you need to see it through somebody else's eyes. I venture to guess that if you're watching this video and you've written things, that very rarely, if ever, have you heard the words you've written read out loud in somebody else's voice. I bet most of the things that you write exist only silently on the page and with the voice in your head. And that's a surefire way to miss very important things that would not be clear to your reader and would not be correct. So don't fall into that trap of thinking that you can get it right by yourself on a first draft. It just can't happen that way. And there's a long explanation about why it can't happen that way, but just trust me. You need somebody else to read over what you've written and give you feedback on it before you turn it in. Okay, read over the rest of the lecture here that is written out, and you'll find out more about these techniques that will enable you to overcome the big three, the three most common errors made by writers.